Okay, welcome back to this second video that I want to use to embed your knowledge about pre-start checks, and in particular the practical tasks that you've got to complete in using either a handheld blower, a backpack blower, or a vacuum. Now obviously it could be a petrol or battery operated. I deliberately, in the previous video, left out something that you may have picked up, and it was with reference to one of the pre-start checks. And I wonder if you did pick it up, but I'm going to mention it now. And again, it depends on how the machine is used, and it will also refer to the operator's manual. And it's essential practice that you are familiar and you've taken the time to read the operator's manual. Within that manual itself, it will give you guidelines with reference to maintenance and to your pre-start checks. And I didn't mention in the previous video about air filters, but depending on use and the type of environment that machine's being used, you will need to carry out an inspection of that air filter as to whether it needs cleaning or not. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs doing every time you do a pre-start check, but it perhaps could be one of those checks that's weekly instead of daily. And that's the thing with pre-start checks. There will be weekly, daily and monthly. And again, it refers to all types of machinery, and it also depends on the complexity of the machine. For example, if you're cutting and using a ride-on mower with cylinder gang units, then there's going to be a lot more involved in pre-start checks, from checking tire pressures to making sure you carry out greasing of nipples. There'll be grease points that need doing. The fueling, the air filter, that visual inspection is still the same, but you'll also perhaps have cutting adjustments to mechanisms, whether the blades need to be adjusted. If it's a cylinder machine, the blade perhaps could do with sharpening if it's a rotary mower. And all these different considerations. I mentioned before about keeping records and how important it is to keep records at the end of the day, recording whether there was any problems with the machine, recording how long it's been run for, and just making sure that the next user that gets it out of the shed has the access to that information. So just to be clear on what the task involves, I just want to read through and make sure that you understand the task in its entirety. So the task that you're going to be asked to do is use a handheld blower or a backpack blower or vacuum, and that's a leaf blower. They're known as leaf blowers, but actually we use these blowers all year round, whether you're cleaning after grass cutting, trimming and so on. But they seem to be known as a leaf blower. And it could be that it's a petrol, and in this case, in the previous video, it was a two-stroke machine, but it could also be a battery operated machine for consideration. I just want to go through the grading and what the expectations are of you as the operator, and you two as the candidate to actually pass. So we're looking at the grading criteria. So if it's a fail, this is what it will be failed on. So tools and equipment and machinery selected or used incorrectly, incorrect or incomplete assessment of maintenance requirements, and identification of suitable action in line with your company policy. So if you get that wrong, that's a fail. Okay, this is what I would expect you to achieve if you have a pass. And the pass would include tools and equipment machinery selected or used correctly, assess maintenance requirements and identify suitable action in line with company policy, make repairs where appropriate. And then if you were to achieve a distinction through this, this is what I would expect. Tools, equipment and machinery selected or used correctly, assess maintenance requirements and identify suitable action in line with company policy. demonstrate understanding of machinery, make repairs and keep records where appropriate. And this is the practical task for using a blower. The task description is safe use and maintenance of the leaf blower. And as part of the practical task, you will be expected to clear an area of a minimum of 50 square meters. So the task objective is you will be required to provide a verbal risk assessment for the task. And we're going to just talk about the risk assessment because it's not just about the machine. The risk assessment would include where you might go and use this blower. You know, if we're thinking about using a blower on a campus, there's lots of considerations that you need to take on board, appropriate timing and so on. So the risk assessment applies to where you're going to use this machine as well. You need to